Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I watched the movie Red Right Hand and now I want to review it. It was written by Jonathan Easley and co-directed by Esham and Ian Nelms. The film stars Orlando Bloom as Cash, Garrett Dillahunt as Wilder, and Andie MacDowell as Big Cat. The story is a slow burn action thriller that follows Cash. He's a former criminal living in the rural south of the United States. He lives with his brother-in-law and niece on a farm and raises cattle. After the death of his sister, his brother-in-law has started drinking himself into a stupor, and the film starts with Cash trying to pull him out of it while taking care of his niece. Then a few gangsters arrive to scare Cash and his family into repaying a debt they owe. Cash ends up agreeing to do 3 jobs for the criminals to pay the debt and finds himself drawn into a world of selling drugs and killing rivals to protect his family. The cast is made up of a few named henchmen, a couple of cops in the background, and a few main characters. There's the local preacher, Wilder, Big Cat the head gangster, Cash's brother-in-law, Finney, his niece Savannah, and finally Cash himself. Cash is a quiet and capable man who loves his family. He's big on letting wrongs go and trying to make things go smoothly, but is always ready to get violent when he needs to. He used to be a drug addict, but got clean after his sister overdosed. Big Cat is a ruthless gangster who is always lusting for more power. She uses Cash's brother-in-law to draw him back in and then wraps her tendrils around him. Big Cat is quick to violence and doesn't let anyone cross her. The visual journey takes place in rural America with lots of trailers, rundown warehouses in the middle of nowhere, barns, and a mega mansion built on a huge lot. We follow Cash as he runs around, making deals, meeting with different characters for dramatic confrontations, and getting into a few gunfights. For music, you have a large selection of orchestral tracks and folksy instrumentals that try to color the atmosphere while also supporting the emotional journey. It's highly dramatic and present throughout almost every scene. Okay, so how was the film? The writing was cliché slop that was probably written using an action thriller Mad Libs. The story is hyper predictable from start to finish and has about as much intrigue as a shiny pebble. The characters are all one-note stereotypes who don't think very far ahead, and the action is all basic back and forth shooting. You do end up rooting for Cash, but only because Andie MacDowell's character is so insufferable that you want to see her die. The cast does a good job with the material despite their limitations, but there are no standout performances. The only big emotions we get to see in the film are sadness from the brother-in-law and pain from the 2 torture victims. All 3 of them do a good job with those moments, but they do not particularly stand out. Orlando Bloom as Cash does a good job with the accent and looking like an action hero, but he's given nothing to do but spit out monotone replies and shoot people. Andie MacDowell and Garrett Dillahunt get some decent emotional moments as well, but nothing all that memorable. Visually, the film is a shaky mess that was clearly filmed on the cheap. The camera is constantly wobbling around even during indoor scenes or still shots, and it gets to be exhausting if you watch the screen too long. The journey is filmed in a mundane-looking area with a lot of it taking place outside in the woods. The costumes are all dirt cheap, the action is basic back-and-forth shooting with little to no visual effects on the guns, and the few torture moments we get are cutaways that use bad prosthetics to make it look gruesome. It looks more like a YouTube series than a real movie. Sound-wise, the film steps up its game and does a much better, but still somewhat generic job. The tracks they use are mixed properly, never interfering with the scenery and always adding something to it. The orchestrals end up adding a ton of emotion into the film, and the little bit of southern twang we got helped perfect the atmosphere. That said, these tracks weren't that memorable. They weren't that complex, and they could easily fit into any other southern action film. Overall, Red Right Hand is yet another sloppily written action film that wasn't well produced. The action, sets, and costumes are all low budget, the actors are limited by the writing, and the visual journey is shaky as hell. Only the soundtrack manages to impress. As for a rating, I'd give this film a 3 out of 10. Remember, these are just my thoughts on the film. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Bye-bye.